Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of MGR Unplugged. I'm here with David again, David Gill, and today we have a few, I will say quick updates, but every time I say quick, then we end up talking for an hour. So we'll see how it goes today, but we definitely have a few topics that we wanted to discuss. And just to give you all a few teasers, we have Apple, obviously, is being in the news the last couple of days since the announcement of the new products for 2019 and beyond. And then we have Uber's fight for their independent contractor status in California. We're also going to discuss Instagram one more time, and this is related to TikTok that we discussed last week, in addition to some comments on Slack, which is an application that David is very familiar with, or he actually likes it. We don't use it at our office, but we're going to discuss pros and cons on how he's finding more and more competition from bigger companies such as Microsoft and so forth. But let's just get started right away. David, how are you doing today?
I'm very good.
Good deal. All right. Well, thanks for joining me. And let's start with Apple. Since you are a big Apple user, you have a watch, you have an iPhone, you have iPads, you have...
I don't have iPads. I ditched the iPad. Well, years ago. I haven't gotten any of the new iPads.
Yeah, I have my old one.
I'm interested in the iPad Pro, but I can't see myself using it as like a work computer that they're kind of pushing it as. Maybe if it gets better, we'll see. But anyways, the iPad, they did release a new iPad. I didn't see too much about that. Actually, I missed that part.
Just a little bigger. We'll get into that, but it's just, I think, like 8.9 versus 9.1 inches, and obviously better definition, Retina display, Retina display now or something. But anyways, let's get started with the whole announcement. Obviously, there's tons of news about the Apple event that happened 2 days ago for us, which is, I think, Tuesday this week, the 10th, right, of September. It was Tuesday. We're recording this on a Thursday. So everything is pretty fresh. There's tons of articles out there with summaries, but we just wanted to cover just a couple of quick things on the technology and maybe a little bit on the actual hardware. Let's just go quickly through the phones. They have the iPhone 11. And there's like three versions.
There's the 11 and the 11 Pro.
Right.
Well, and the 11 Pro Max, but the Max is just bigger. They had basically the big announcements were the new phones everybody's expecting. Then they announced the Series 5 Apple Watch, the new iPad, and was there anything else?
The Apple TV Plus.
The Apple TV Plus, that's
and
right.
then some the arcade. The
arcade. They
gaming.
Also came out with their little, do you see the Apple, I forget what they called it. It's like an Apple Tile. Like
yeah.
That basically is like a little tracker.
Is replacing not replacing, but competing with the Tile, the famous tracker
device. But the main thing were the phones and the watch, I would say, and the Apple TV Plus. So I've got to say, I like Apple. I don't use Macs. I actually do use Windows for work. But as far as everything else, I have the Series 4 watch that came out last year, iPhone 10. I didn't get the 10s. I didn't see the need, but I've got to say, I'm kind of a little disappointed. I was interested in the new watch. I just got the 4 last year, so I wasn't planning on upgrading to the 5 unless it had some really crazy new features. And I gotta say, especially on the watch, I'm really disappointed. I mean, really, it has always on, which a lot of people have been wanting. So instead of having to raise your wrist to turn it on, it's just always on, but in a little dim mode. Me personally, I don't get why people want always on so much. Because
I think actually it's pretty cool when you see people with an Apple Watch that is off. It's like a black screen until they actually activate it.
If I need to look at my watch, I'm obviously going to raise my wrist and it's on. But a lot of people, I've been hearing it for years that they want an always on watch.
Is that an option or it's just that?
No, it has never been an option. This one finally will. They figured out the battery life. Basically, when your wrist isn't raised, it's just going to be a little dimmer. They talked about the battery technology and the screen, blah, 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 how they conserve battery life. But anyways, it's going to be always on. To me, personally, that's not that big of a deal. I mean, if I've never had a time, the only time they said that it's advantageous that I do agree is if you're doing something like exercise related where you I do agree sometimes it's annoying. You have to like raise your wrist to check things. That's the only time. But for everyday use, I don't need always on. But isn't
that like I had with the iPhone 10, you had this thing when you raise your phone and it turns on to the screen. And I turned that off because I didn't want my phone to be on.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. I mean,
you like that?
You have to swipe for Face ID?
Yeah, when I with my phone I turned it off. So when I touch the screen, like I tap it, it turns on.
Oh,
But
okay.
it doesn't on no because I mean I'm moving with my phone in my hand all the time. It's always on and always off and all that stuff. And I just didn't like that feature. I think it's unnecessary use of battery.
I
or
like it on
whatever.
the phone, but on the watch, I don't need it to always be on. I raise my wrist, it turns on. I don't have a problem. But that was really the biggest new feature. They're releasing ceramic editions and a titanium, which is like, okay, cool, whatever. Not a big deal. That's
But as far as features, anything
hardware. That plus compass. There's a compass on it now. So like if you're walking on Apple Maps in a direction, like you know how on your phone has the little arrow.
Yeah.
Now it does the same thing on the watch. It didn't do that before. A couple small things, but that's about it. The one that I was looking forward to that I said, that would be something I'm interested in was sleep tracking. The current watch doesn't do sleep tracking. The new one that was rumored it would. It doesn't. No sleep tracking, which is a big disappointment to me.
Is that supposed to be a software upgrade, or that's something that hardware is to be involved?
I think it was a hardware upgrade. Basically, the new
you already
5.
have.
I use a third-party app, but I stopped using it because I just didn't think it was super accurate. It's
That's what I read. Even not just the watch, but I also read that the like the Aura Ring and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Some of them are not very.
the Aura Ring's pretty
accurate.
good. The Aura Ring's pretty good, but I don't want a ring. I prefer a watch, and I don't need a second device. I was hoping that the Apple Watch. I don't really know why it couldn't do the sleep tracking, because it takes your vitals, it does EKG, it can detect your movement. So I don't understand what the big technological leap is needed there to do sleep tracking as well. But that was a rumored feature, and basically they didn't announce it. So that's kind of disappointing for me. That would be, if I were to upgrade, that would be one of the main reasons, because I like to track all my health stuff. That's one of the biggest things that I like about the watch, and sleep is the biggest thing that I don't track. And that would have been something I like to track. But anyways, really, other than the always on and a compass app,
I guess the only good news is that your watch now is much cheaper for everybody.
it's down to $350 from $400. Not a big drop.
Oh, I thought which one is the one that is
The 3
Oh, the 3 is
went
down
down
to
to
$199.
$199, which is a very good deal. I mean,
Yeah.
the 3 and the 4, there's not a huge amount of differences. The 3 is still a really good watch, and for $199, if you never had a smartwatch, it's definitely a good entry point for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was disappointed in the watch, and then the phones. We could talk about the phones. So, I probably, like a lot of people, do the, buy 1 year, skip 1 year. Some people skip 2 years. So I have the iPhone 10, not the 10s that came out last year. And I was planning, depending on the new features, I said, okay, I'll probably upgrade this year to the 11 or 11 Pro, whatever. I don't know that I'm going to, because my phone is still in pretty good shape. I mean, the battery life is normally what goes first. My 10 still has really good battery life. I haven't cracked the screen or anything. I don't know. I mean, you have a 10. Are you planning on upgrading?
No, I not really. I mean, I'm the same way. I mean, I think you and I got our 10s about the same time or slightly different, but I'm happy with my 10. I mean, I honestly, I'm kind of getting tired of all these new phones having a better camera, triple cameras, this and that. I'm not a big camera user. I mean, I use the camera for certain things, but it's not like I'm not a photographer.
Yeah, I've got to say, like, because I remember when I got the 10 and it had the 4K video. It was the first iPhone, and I was blown away. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. The 10 has a great camera. I don't really need the 11 Pro,
Right?
Right.
Like
I mean, it's
like-
beautiful
like
that it has 3
everybody's
lenses.
becoming a professional photographer with, zoom capabilities and this and action shots and this. I mean, my phone is an extension of my computer. I rely more on my phone these days because I'm always on the go and I can check my emails. I can go to the internet. I can downstream things. I can listen to music, podcasts, everything. And I want it to be fast. That's the main thing for me.
Yeah.
I want a phone that is fast. That is not waiting forever.
But that's
to
the
open
thing. The
apps
10
and
is
things.
pretty fast.
And exactly. So the 10 to me, I mean, I
I
use it
know
when I
they-
work out, and I use it when I do this and that. There's tons of apps that are very useful. I'm not a big fan of apps just for the heck of it. I mean, I have the ones that I actually use. And when the new phone is just basically more cameras and maybe better display, all that stuff.
To me, actually, for the 11 Pro, the bigger attraction. The problem for me is the one thing that I would like because I have the 10 is a bigger screen. So if I were to get one, I'd probably get the 11 Pro Max. But of course, that's the most expensive one. So that's why I'm like, I don't know. But the thing that I like about the 11 Pro or the 11 Pro Max is the display is pretty kick-ass. It's OLED, just like the 10. The 11 regular is an LCD, so it's not an OLED. which basically means you're not going to have the blacks where it's basically the pixels are off.
Right, the contrast.
And then it has HDR Retina, I think is what they called it. But basically, it has a better color range, better blacks, better brightness. It's even more bright. That's the bigger thing that I like about the 11 Pro. It has a really, really good screen. More than the camera. I mean, the camera on the 10 is great. The only thing that I like actually about the new camera is just the night mode.
Yeah. That's the only thing.
That's the only main
is
feature.
very bad. Yeah,
But I don't need a telephoto lens. I mean, it's nice.
wide angle telephoto,
Yeah.
triple cameras, all this.
It's nice, but it's not something that's gonna. I'm not a professional photographer, and plus, if I want to be a professional photographer, we have real cameras. So if I need to do a real shoot for something, we have real cameras. I don't need the phone.
Right.
Like to me, there's just not an enticing enough for me to go out and spend another $1,000.
The only thing that I was a little surprised about is that they actually did not increase the price. Or I mean, you and I were listening to a presentation and then thinking, "Oh my God, this phone is going to be like $1,500."
And I joked to you, I said, because they were talking about all the new features of the A13 chip and blah 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 with the 11 Pro Max, and I said, "Oh yeah, and it's gonna be $1,500." Like I joked, it was $1,000 and then $1,100 for the Pro Max. The 11 is $599.
Yeah,
which is
it starts at
I mean, that is remarkable for iPhone. I mean, $599, basically $600. That's cheap for an iPhone. I'm surprised they went that low. But maybe it's because they know that a lot of people aren't going to upgrade if it was $800. I would have guessed it would probably be $800 and the Pro would be $1,000 plus, and it was only $600. Interesting to me, very interesting.
But now they also have 3 sizes because before they had 2. It's slightly different sizes between the 3 phones, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's another little detail, that before they had the normal and the plus or
the main reason I would say, besides the camera, to get the 11 Pro is if you're a big mobile gamer. I'm not sure how big the mobile gaming industry is for the. There's kind of 2 types of gamers. There's the casual and the dedicated, whatever you want to call it. And this phone, if you're more of a dedicated gamer, quote unquote, would be better because it has a new GPU, new CPU, very fast, big, beautiful display. They showed demos of running pretty decent looking games on it. But the problem is the casual gamer is the person who plays like Candy Crush and Words with Friends and those type. You don't need a monster phone to run those apps.
Right.
The dedicated type gamer is going to have a console or play on their PC.
It doesn't find enough
I don't know if they're going to want to play on mobile. That's kind of the disconnect. Now, maybe things are changing. Maybe mobile gaming will grow so the more hardcore gamer base goes into mobile. But so far, I haven't really seen that. Hardcore gamers have their consoles, have their PCs. They like to play on a more immersive experience, dedicated gaming experience. I don't know, maybe with technology. Obviously, phones were always limited in their technology, so they couldn't really run high-quality games. So maybe there will be a shift. But that'll be the only reason, besides the camera, to get the new phone if you're a big gamer on mobile. I don't think that is a very huge market,
but that's
though.
a small audience. All right, so let's move on, since we don't play games here anyway.
But on the business side, I'm a little worried about Apple's future prospects. I mean, they're not going anywhere. They're fine. They have a ton of $200+ billion in cash. I think people who talk doom and gloom are exaggerating. But as far as their growth prospects, I mean, they're a $1 trillion company. It's hard to grow when you're a $1 trillion company.
Let me ask you this: they just also announced Apple TV Plus, which basically is $4.99. I think $4.99 a month for their own streaming video service.
I think it's going to be not meaningful to Apple because
I don't know.
$5.99, if they get 10 million people to sign up for $60 a year, that's nothing. That's nothing to them.
It's just money that they didn't have now, but they're trying to get more people into their ecosystem, which is what all these companies are trying to do, like for the Amazons, the Googles, the Apples, and so forth. So
I think with the competition, though, I mean, Netflix is already obviously the incumbent at this point, and Disney Plus is coming out, which has way more content and way more valuable known IP. Apple is developing all its own stuff, and they're paying a ton of money to Oprah and big name people to develop stuff for Apple. But as far as known established IP, Disney has way more of that. I don't know. The thing is that it's cheap. It's $5 a month.
Yeah, but the other thing that I think it has an advantage over Disney Plus and so forth is that Apple will be available in over 100 countries. So they're much more global.
I mean, I'm sure Disney's going to be available.
I don't know. I don't know.
Disney's a pretty global company.
It is a global company, but I'm not sure the streaming service is available. I'm not sure. I need to look into that, but I'm not sure if I know Netflix obviously has global accounts and has international accounts and all that stuff. But I'm not sure if people will sign up and pay from Germany, Disney Plus, or whatever. Whereas people that have Apple devices in general all over the world, including the 100 countries where Apple TV Plus will be available or the subscription service will be available. So you were saying like 10 million people subscribe. I think it's going to be much more or many more than 10 million people when you consider 100 countries. So I think that will be a significant revenue addition for Apple that will probably compensate for the hardware revenue that may not be where people expect.
I mean, say they get 20 million people. Okay, that's a lot for a new streaming service. Say they get 20 million people at $60 a year. That's 1.2 billion. Yeah, that's a lot of money, but for Apple, that's nothing. That's absolutely nothing. They do what, 200 something billion or 300 billion in revenue.
But it's something if they think that may not be selling so many iPhones or so many.
To account for 1% of their current revenues, they would have to get what, 30 million, 40 million subscribers. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying that nobody's going to subscribe to it. I'm saying that I don't think it's going to have a meaningful contribution to their growth. That's my point.
The key will be original programming. That's how you get more subscribers when you have something that nobody else can offer. See, they're going to just limit it to movies and things like that. Is not going to happen. But apparently they're having like morning shows. So they're going to have their own, TV network style programming with talk shows and personalities. They're talking about Jennifer Aniston, Steve Carell, things like that. So that will attract a number of viewers that Disney will not have or Netflix, unless you get a movie, because Netflix is not into shows. They're basically all into streaming content, so
you mean live shows?
Live shows, exactly. Yeah. So if Apple TV gets into a little bit of a daily programming, like talk shows and morning shows and things like that, that could be a nice thing, a nice addition to their repertoire.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I just think that for Apple, I feel like they're getting into the content business because they're like, oh, shoot, we need to keep adding new business lines so that our investors stay happy. But I don't know. I mean, they're investing, what was the number, $5 billion or $6 billion?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at $5 a month, basically $60 a year, you're going to have to get a lot of damn subscribers to make that money back. If you're putting in $6 billion a year, that means you need 100 million subscribers. That's how many Netflix has, or close to, a little less.
Yeah, but you look at the customer lifetime value in these cases, and you don't expect everybody to. I mean, when you make that kind of investment, it's not so much, what you expect in the first year return. You basically say, okay, these customers are going to be with us. I mean, look at Netflix. I mean, Netflix is growth. I mean, people that sign up for Netflix usually stay with Netflix unless something else gets better, which we noticed some decrease in Netflix subscribers when Disney Plus came with their own programming, and then they're taking programming or content away from Netflix. So, but if Apple TV comes with their own content, and you it's like the old wars between like morning shows, between Good Morning America, the Today shows, and all that stuff. There was huge ratings wars between those programs, morning TV, and they were getting all these high personality anchors and all that stuff just to earn or to win the morning audience. So if Apple TV comes with their own shows that are unique with people that actually pull audience, like the Jennifer Anistons and stuff like that, so I think they have some potential there. But I mean, Apple is not a rookie in the arena, so I'm sure they're doing.
They are in the content arena. They've never done content before. That's my question.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. I mean, they have a ton of cash. They got to spend it somehow. So if they want to go into the content world, fine. But the thing that's disappointing is they've spent tens of billions on R&D and really have nothing to show for it. I mean, the best product they've come with in the last 5 years is the AirPods. I love the AirPods, but it's just a pair of better headphones. You know, like, where are the AR glasses? Where's the car that they've been talking about for years? I think they had a good opportunity to get into the physical TV market, and that doesn't look like it's going to happen. Where are all those R&D dollars going? How do you spend tens of billions and have no products to show for it?
Well, I think they will probably come down the pipeline, but like the AirPods, example, they announced.
Yeah, that's another one that they delayed.
Yeah,
I mean, I personally, my AirPods are kind of taking a crap on me. The battery life is going to zero. I've had them for like 2 years now, and the new ones are supposed to be noise canceling. So I said, okay, well, maybe I'll hold out. And now they say, well, we're going to delay them till next year. So that sucks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, it's easy to criticize, obviously. I'm not trying to be negative here. I'm a big Apple fan, obviously. I buy a lot of
I just
products.
think that also people expect so much more from Apple every time, and it's just... it's hard
when you
to
spend $20 billion on R&D, you expect something to show for it. That's the thing. Mm-hmm. You know, where did that money go? To adding a third lens? Is that where it went?
No, I mean, they also improved, like, the iOS 13, which we haven't discussed yet, is going to have some significant improvements over the current operating systems, and including maps and things like that. So I'm not sure exactly when the iOS 13 will be available.
It's available in beta, I think, but I'm not sure when it'll be rolled
but I
out
mean,
completely.
they're investing quite a bit on things. It'll be like pre-AR features, and maps were going to be significantly improved.
I've been talking about Apple and AR for a couple of years, and I get it that the hardware isn't there yet, but if Apple doesn't win AR, it'll be a massive failure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, people, and that's why I think they're trying to make it like perfect, you know, from the get-go, as opposed to a little gimmicky thing that other people have tried and then it failed. You know, they don't want to be like, even with like glasses and things like that. I mean, Google has had a monumental failure with their Google glasses, and then they had to take them off the market. So
I think they were too early.
Yeah, exactly. But that was the thing. So Apple doesn't want to make the same mistake, and they want to have something that is classy, stylish.
Yeah,
and that
but if you
people will be
remember,
proud to
the
use.
first iPhone didn't do a whole lot either.
Yeah, but when they came with the AirPods, remember, it was like, oh my God, look at this guy with the AirPods, like little white things in his ear and all that stuff. It was like a little stylish.
No,
thing.
Apple is definitely known for waiting longer than most companies to make a better user experience rather than just being the first.
Right.
So we'll see.
All right, so quickly, the Apple Arcade, any comments on that since you are more of a gamer?
I'm not much of a gamer these days. I don't have time for games. But if there's good mobile games, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I think the disconnect is that I don't think hardcore gamers really are looking to play on the phone. That's the thing. I think a dedicated hardcore gamer is going to want to play on console or on PC, not on a phone. The casual gamer already has their casual games on the phone. So we'll see. Maybe they shift the gaming arena a little bit. But right now, again, I don't think that's going to be some meaningful, massive, multi-billion-dollar revenue stream for them. Absolutely not.
Okay. All right, so enough of Apple. There's going to be much more news everywhere. If you follow Verge or TechCrunch or any of these sources, they have tons of reviews and guys that do a very good job with it. So I definitely suggest that you watch a few of those videos. I'm sure you follow them already, and they do very, very intensive reviews of the actual devices, and they tell you everything, you know, there's pros and cons. So like I said, I'm not super impressed. I don't need a phone, so it's like I can definitely wait another year, maybe, unless I crack my screen or something.
But that's a big deal because, I mean, right. I'm someone who used to pretty religiously every other year buy a new one. And this year, I don't know. Maybe I'll wait till next year. We'll see. If I crack my screen, okay, fine, I'll get a new one. But I haven't cracked my screen. Battery's still good. That's a big monetary loss for Apple. And if me times, 2 million people decide that, that's a big deal for Apple.
Yeah. All right, let's shift gears. No pun intended. We're going to discuss Uber now, transportation. And this is something that we like to follow. Obviously, we're much into shared driving economy.
I wouldn't say it's so much Uber, more just the legislation.
The
it
legislation.
Everybody.
Well, it's affecting. Uber is being on the news more than anybody else, but it's also Lyft and DoorDash and some other companies, basically, that are described as a gig economy. The issue is the California legislation, or it's actually a thing called AB5 for Assembly Bill number 5, which basically is trying to classify, it's been for years actually, classifying Uber drivers or Lyft as employees rather than independent contractors. And obviously that has just major ramifications on employee laws and benefits and so forth. And then Uber is fighting that, saying, no, our drivers are independent contractors and so forth. So California just passed the first step into approving that legislation, saying actually that as of January 1st, they will be officially classified as employees.
To which Uber said, nope.
Yeah. Well, Uber said they don't care.
Yeah. They said we're a marketplace, so they're not employees.
Right. So they are defiant, and they're basically saying, we don't care. I mean, yeah, California can do whatever they want and classify the employees or contractors or whatever they want to do, because they basically say it doesn't affect us. We are not that. We're just a platform.
Right.
We're just a marketplace. And no different than eBay or whatever.
Right. That's not. We talked a little before the podcast, and I said that what Uber's claiming, and I'm not saying that they're wrong. I don't think they're 100% right, but basically they're saying that we're no different than like eBay. We basically provide a marketplace for drivers and riders. So just like someone who sells something on eBay isn't an employee of eBay, someone who sells their driving services on Uber isn't an employee of Uber.
Right, but the difference and the dispute is that, again, you go to the eBay example, eBay provides the platform, but then leaves the negotiation between the buyer and the seller.
The biggest contingent point is the pricing. Drivers don't set the price.
Right.
That's the biggest case you have against Uber.
Exactly.
I think everything else is in Uber's favor. Drivers pick their hours. They can pick their days.
They use their own car.
They can quit at any time. They use their own car. Exactly.
Right. And they're free to work for, I mean, many Uber drivers, as you know, they work for
Lots
Uber or Lyft, or they do DoorDash.
Right.
Or they do this, that. They're completely independent as far
Right.
as picking their workplace.
I know plenty of college kids who drive for Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, Postmates. They do whatever's making more money at that moment.
Or even Amazon delivery. So yeah, that way is very clear. And this is something that has been happening for a while. I mean, California always kind of leads this kind of push towards classifying independent contractors as employees for these types of services. And I remember we, or MGR as a company, we were actually involved with Super Shuttle, one of our clients, when they basically had a similar situation with California, where they were claiming that their drivers, the blue van drivers, were also employees versus independent contractors. So Super Shuttle wanted to basically defend
the big
their
difference
case.
there, though, just so everybody knows, Super Shuttle is back in. I mean, they still exist
It's a
now.
shared transportation system.
Yeah, basically, if you've seen the blue Super Shuttle vans, it's kind of like Uber Pool type of thing. But the key difference there is they had the Super Shuttle branding on the vans, and they wore the uniforms. So that was why the case was a little more. But in this case, it's your own car. It's your own. You drive any hours. And I'm going to say, and maybe there will be people upset with me, but I think this is bad legislation. And especially when I get where legislators are coming from. I get the argument, but I think that they're wrong. I think that workers should have the right to choose where and when they want to work without having to become an employee, and should have that independence. The problem is, and I was reading, articles about this in preparation, and there were quotes from, some of the legislators saying, our job is to protect the workers. But I think you're hurting the workers, not helping them.
Well, I mean, the workers are actually the ones demonstrating on the streets and stuff in California.
Right, but
and it's funny because I actually took a ride. When did I go? It was just last week, I think. And I took a ride with an Uber driver, and it was a lady, nice lady, and she was telling me that she was obviously aware of all these complaints and demonstrations in California with the Uber drivers saying that they wanted to be employees sometimes, and they wanted to have the benefits and all that stuff. And she was actually totally opposed to that.
Exactly. I think most
are
opposed to it.
I don't want to do that stuff. I said, I like the fact that I'm... she was a very well-educated lady. She says, I do this because I get bored at home. My husband is always traveling and blah, 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 and all that stuff. My kids are grown. They're in college and this. And I just decided to drive, and it gets me to know people and chat and drive around. But I don't want to be tied to be an employee I like to be free, And she says sometimes I turn it on and off, and I just do whatever I want.
The problem is, if you make them employees, it just changes the whole dynamic. And Uber drivers, in my experience, not just Uber, Lyft, Postmates, whatever. When I talk to them, most of them, they do it because they like their independence. They can choose their hours, choose their day if they don't want to do it today.
They even choose the areas they want to be driving around.
Right, and most of them, I mean, some people do it full time, but a lot of them are doing it on the side of school, doing it on the side of work, trying to, a lot of them, there's actually a lot of business professionals that will leave work because they need to go back to school to learn something, but in the meantime, they're driving on the side for Uber at night, whatever. It gives people independence. I don't understand this constant, I don't think it's the government's job, or I don't think the government should be involved in telling people what they can and can't do with their bodies, basically.
But see, usually this is not even a federal government issue. It's usually a state.
Right, but obviously in this case, California is a major market.
Understood, but California may say that, and then Arizona may not even have the same law, or many other states. So it's like you start separating. Some states you are an Uber driver in California, you're considered an employee, versus you are in Arizona, you're an independent contractor. I mean, that just makes everything much more confusion, But in addition to that, Uber and Lyft actually are proposing a new battle, like I think you and I were saying too, about this third classification between
I think this is the solution.
Being employee or independent contractor, which is the two current classifications for people that work. You earn either W-2 income or 1099 income. And now with the quote-unquote gig economy, they're trying to come up with a third one where you have people that can enjoy certain benefits but still have their own independence as far as being contractors.
Yeah, and I think because where do you draw the line? Because it's really... we live in, I think the gig economy, quote unquote, is a little overrated. I don't think everybody's going to be a gig worker in the future, but I think there will be a lot. There already are, and it will grow just because it's a great opportunity for people to get either a secondary income or have it as their primary income, but they get to be completely independent. But where do you draw the line? Like I was discussing with you earlier, okay, so an Uber driver is an employee, but then is a Fiverr person an employee of Fiverr now? Is someone who goes on Upwork or Odesk or any of these freelance sites, are they an employee of that site now? Where do you draw the line?
Yeah, I think I don't know. In those cases, it might be a little more difficult to govern, just because majority of those contractors, like the Fiverrs and the Odesk, many of them are international.
Okay, yeah, but there's also a ton in the U.S.
Yeah,
so what do you do with
discriminating? You're treating the U.S. guys one way and the Indonesian guys a different way.
What's the difference? Because if I hire a freelance developer to work on something for me from some site, they're not an employee of that site. And most of them are on multiple sites, okay? It's no different. If you're an Uber driver, most of them have multiple Lyft, Uber Eats, obviously that's Uber too, but DoorDash, Postmates, whatever. What's the difference? That's my question. And I just think that when you start limiting people's independence, that's always a bad thing. I think you should just give people the freedom to choose what they want to do with work. If it's not advantageous, people are not stupid. If they're not making money, they're going to find another gig. That's how it works. And if they don't if Uber doesn't pay them enough, especially nowadays with such low unemployment rate, it's pretty easy to get a job at any minimum wage place. Like the argument that they say, oh, they make less than minimum wage. That's totally not true at all. If they were making less than minimum wage, you think they would still drive? No.
Right. So in your opinion, the argument from Uber saying that they are not a ride providing platform, they're more of a marketplace,
and it's going to hurt the consumer because rides are going to get more expensive if they have to start paying every driver full salary and benefits. Okay, well that money has to come from somewhere, so the prices of the rides are going to go up now. I mean, I think it hurts the workers, it hurts Uber, and it hurts the consumer. So why are we doing this? That's my question.
Yeah, well, because the states don't care about that; they just want to get more revenues. That's.
But like we were saying, I think the solution is creating a third type of worker classification.
Well, that's what Uber and Lyft are doing. They're spending combined $60 million, which is another point because both of these companies are losing money every quarter, massive amount of money. And now they're spending $60 million in trying to get a ballot for the next, approved to have a third classification for these kinds of workers, like gig economy type things, So we'll see what happens. Many people are wondering, and when this comes into effect on January 1st, Uber is saying that they don't care because it doesn't apply to them. The California state says, yes, it does apply to you, and if you don't do it, you will be having hefty fines. And then Uber says, well, if we have fines, we're going to basically go to court and dispute it again. So all these legal fees, money, and all that stuff is like, it's not like they are very affluent. Obviously they are used to lawsuits and they've been through a few.
Yeah.
But this is coming at a great expense when a company is trying to come afloat and they're already losing $1 billion a quarter.
LA and San Francisco are two massive markets for them. So losing them is probably worth a lot more than the legal fees that they're going to have to pay. Mm-hmm. That's why they're doing it. But to me, my primary argument or point, and I get why they're doing this. Their goal is to protect the worker. Really, I think it's also for tax reasons too, but they will never admit that. The main reason is because they want to quote unquote protect the worker, but because they don't want a company like Uber to take advantage of drivers. But in the gig economy world, the beauty is that the reason why it's so great is gig workers have a ton of options. And when you have competition, someone who's taking advantage of people are going to stop working for work for others.
If you become an employee, if California forces or establishes this on January 1st that an Uber driver is an employee of Uber, treated as an employee, guess what? That driver, if he's one of those that is the many of those that are sharing between Uber and Lyft, which more drivers are doing that these days. You see them with both stickers and platforms and everything else. They're going to have to pick one because they obviously will not be able to work for both. And right now, when Uber has a driver that is driving also for Lyft, they pretty much just look the other way and the other way around. Lyft, that's the same thing because they obviously cannot impose or tell the driver what to do. But when that happens, it's like that same driver is going to say, okay, now I'm an employee of Uber and I'm driving X amount of rides per week or per day or whatever, but then I'm not going to drive for Lyft or pick Lyft and not drive for Uber. So I think you take that freedom away from employees or for your contractors and your drivers, and there's much more. There are consequences there that I don't think people realize, even the drivers. Because the Uber drivers or Lyft drivers are demonstrating in California too, asking for their rights. But I don't think they fully understand.
But I'm always questionable about protests because it's always a very small amount of people that are very vocal.
They make all the
noise.
Think
I guarantee you, if you were to go, if Uber were to do this on the Uber app, do a little poll that says, do you want to be an employee with benefits or whatever? But then it means, first of all, we're probably going to have to lay off a bunch of you because we can't afford all of you. Second of all, you have to work on our hours when we tell you all. You gave them all the things that's going to come with being an employee. I bet you if you took a poll, the majority of Uber drivers would say, no, I don't want to.
Yeah, but at the same time, like now that California has passed the first approval process of legislation, there's already a class action suit from one particular driver that has already sued Uber, and then everybody's joining.
There's always people looking for money.
Exactly.
But I'm talking about the real issue here, and like I said, I think it's the nice thing about the gig economy is it's very hard to get away with taking advantage of workers because they have so many options. So if you're taking advantage of them, they can just go to Lyft or they can just go to Postmates or DoorDash. And that's at that level. It's the same reason why are there so many different freelance sites? If one of the freelance sites is gouging people, guess what? The freelancers are going to go to the other freelance sites. That's my point. When you have competition and options, you can't get away with taking advantage of the worker, which is the biggest thing. And I'm saying I don't think any workers are getting taken advantage of. That's the point. They're actually getting a good opportunity that did not exist previously. And now you're going to take that away because you're worried that someone could potentially take advantage of them. I think that's wrong.
Yeah. All right. So let's move over to move on to Instagram. And we talked last week, I think it was, about TikTok as the new or fairly new social media platform that is growing very fast. And lo and behold, I just read earlier, I think it was late last night or earlier this morning too, that Instagram is now trying to copy some of the features of TikTok. Which
color me surprised.
I know. Now TikTok is becoming the new Snapchat. You invent, and Facebook/Instagram copies whatever works, and then lets you fail miserably with the things that don't work. So, do you know much about that? I mean, I obviously know a little bit. It's fairly new.
I read up on it. I saw some of the reports, and it looks like Instagram executives or whoever went to their engineers and say, hey, see all these features that TikTok has? Here, download the TikTok app real quick. See how this works. See how you can make these clips and add music and do this and
share and join and all that stuff.
Do that on Instagram. And that's what they did. They just copied it. Just like they do with stories. I mean, we've seen it before. We'll see it again. I mean, that's this the world of software is the advantage is the profit margins are massive, okay? It costs nothing to make a copy of a file and distribute it. There's basically zero distribution costs versus the physical world. The disadvantage is in the physical world, you can have patents and protections that are much more real. It's very, very hard to protect features. Very hard. And there's really nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's got to be a way for these other platforms. I mean, Instagram or Facebook and Twitter to a certain extent and YouTube for sure, they've grown so big and so massive as far as users that they really, and they have so much money too as far as being able to develop their own tools that it's come to a point where they're almost just waiting for somebody else to invent and they just copy with a slight variation. Because I mean, I don't know what Facebook has done lately that is purely a Facebook feature that hasn't been
the only thing they've done is the Libra coin, and that doesn't look like it's going to happen.
Probably not even going to happen. But in the social media,
which by the way was a copy of Ethereum, but anyways,
okay, we talked about that. But as far as the social media features, I mean, they come with Facebook Live. Okay, well, there were other live platforms out there before. Twitter acquired one. Then the stories, as you said, they were pretty much made Snapchat.
Yeah, Snapchat was big because of filters and stories, and Instagram copied both.
Right. So if you are an investor developer, do you have any incentive on coming up with a new social media platform, knowing that? I mean,
well, I'll take this TikTok side. And again, we talked last week. I'm not pro TikTok, not because I think the platform itself is bad. I think it's fine. It's just that because it's Chinese owned and Chinese government the Chinese Communist Party has an office in their headquarters. That worries me a little bit. But on the side of TikTok, the thing is they have hit critical mass. They have over 500 million users. They're growing really quickly. I don't know how quickly Instagram is going to roll out these features. Even when they roll it out initially, I'm sure it won't be as good and as polished as TikTok. When they first rolled out stories, it did take a little bit before they kind of figured it out, and then they were able to beat Snapchat.
IGTV is taking quite a while, too.
IGTV has been kind of a failure. So it's not like it's a guaranteed success. And TikTok has grown a ton and is kind of becoming more known. Basically, I think if you ask most people now, have you heard of TikTok? I feel like a lot of people have. They might not be a user, but at least they know about TikTok, which wasn't true 6 months ago. So they're kind of hitting that critical mass a little bit. That's the advantage. It's network effects. I mean, that's what social media networks thrive on. That's why Instagram and Facebook have such an advantage because they have 2.7 billion combined users. But if TikTok, now this is just, if you're an investor or TikTok itself, you need to be all resources ahead, double the marketing budget, double whatever. You got to go because we saw this with Snapchat. I mean, you can see the chart of Snapchat users versus Instagram Stories users, and it's literally Snapchat growing. Instagram comes out, and then all of a sudden, within a year, Instagram triples Snapchat's users. It's incredible.
Right. No,
So TikTok needs to move fast if they want to compete.
Right, because I mean, even Facebook TV or Facebook Video, what is it called? Facebook
Watch.
Facebook Watch, right. They try to be a second platform to YouTube, and YouTube still dominates completely on the video.
Yeah,
the video
Facebook
side.
Watch. Their problem is that they haven't gotten creators on there. They have a bunch of exclusive content that they pay for, but they haven't gotten any YouTube people to move. And that's the biggest challenge because YouTube is...
So, I mean, those are examples of Facebook trying to copy something and not working well.
But in that case, they were actually the smaller one. They were the new one, basically trying to fight YouTube, which has, 2 billion users now? So I don't know, but I
Right, and then you also have Google trying to copy Facebook with Google Plus and all that stuff, and also failed miserably. They did capture a lot of data from people while it existed, but then they decided to just shut it down. So between the big guys, people choose sides, and they're already in one way or the other. But I think the smaller platforms that come up, if they are successful, they get swallowed right away as far as their features. And I think there's a limited number of users out there. I mean, Facebook is pretty much maxed out, and then unless they start offering internet access to people in African countries and all that stuff, because the developed world population is already on Facebook or not by choice. And then obviously in certain countries like China, Russia, whatever, they're banned, so they're not going to grow there. So I think it's just a matter of where do you find more people, and attracting people that are maybe...
And how do you not lose people?
Right.
This is more of a defensive thing because TikTok could be a threat to Instagram. Now, I don't think it's necessarily a threat because they don't do pictures. But if they added pictures...
Well, but
maybe
it's everything. I mean, people only have so much time to spend on social media
right,
platforms. So you decide to do a TikTok video versus posting on Instagram, that affects your daily users, advertising money, and everything.
A lot of it is not just total users, but it's usage rate or time spent.
Mm-hmm.
So if all of a sudden Instagram goes from 40
engagement, right?
Right. If they go from the average user spending 30, 40 minutes a day, say it's 40, and then they go down to 30, that 10 minutes a day is a big deal. That's a lot of ad revenue that they're losing now.
Yeah, exactly. All right, and then also on a side news, obviously we already know that Instagram started to test hiding likes from some of the posts, and apparently it worked well. They did the test in Canada and some other
Canada
countries,
and a few other places.
And apparently now they're even thinking, Facebook is even thinking about doing something similar on Facebook. Just obviously the owner of the account will still be able to see the results and the likes and all the stuff, but they're trying to avoid this kind of competition.
Now there's rumors that Twitter might do it too.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that.
But I don't know. I mean, I have mixed feelings about it. I get it. I get the point. People shouldn't be obsessed with likes. I don't know. I feel like that it's like once the cat's out of the bag, can you really stop people from liking things and sharing things? And
well, I mean, that ties into a next topic, which is the fake followers and all that stuff. I mean, Instagram has a huge... I mean, obviously all the platforms have had it in the past, even YouTube and Facebook and all that, but Instagram specifically, because of all the influencer marketing, they have a huge issue with fake accounts, fake followers, or followers that are not really followers. I mean, there's tons of writing these days about that. It is becoming a multi-billion-dollar problem now because, frankly, there's ad agencies out there that don't know or don't do the research, and they are selling influencer marketing to their clients, which is completely fake. And that is a fraud like you wouldn't believe it. And there's platforms out there that allow you to find out if an account or a pretended influencer is fake or not. And obviously to do a thorough research, it takes time, and that's why most of the agencies probably don't do it. And they have influencers that are not really influencers, that are just fake. And they have a number of followers that are fake, but it's becoming more and more difficult to detect those because they are using very sophisticated techniques.
Yes, but at the same time, I've seen a lot more software and companies come out that are specifically dedicated to figuring out fake followers. I just saw one the other day that seemed pretty good. I forgot the name of it. We can maybe put it in the show notes, but yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. You know, you're always going to have, it's no different than kind of cybersecurity. You're going to have hackers, and then you're going to have cybersecurity companies that fight the hackers. It's always going to be kind of that battle. And I think it's the same with fake followers. You're going to have fake followers, but then you're going to have software that detects the fake followers. And then,
but it's not just the fake followers, it's the fake engagement. Because you have these comment pods and engagement pods. I mean, they're actually advertised, which tells you basically, I mean, for people that don't know what it is, I mean, you can be in a group, in a WhatsApp group, and then you belong to this engagement pod or you know, comment pod or whatever they call it, and then you have 1,000 users that belong to that pod. So what that means is that when you post something, everybody in that group, in that Instagram, in that WhatsApp group or whatever they communicate, they get a notification. and they have about 5 minutes to react and go to the post that one person from the group posted and like it, make a comment, put a smiley face, fantastic, this and that. And if you don't do it within the 5 minutes, they kick you out of the pod. So basically, you need to be active. And by the same token, when you post, everybody else is doing the same thing. So this is a massive thing because people may belong to 4, 5, 6, 7 pods and get like automatically. And you know very well the algorithm is made so if you get a reply or a engagement of some sort within the first 5-10 minutes,
the first 10 minutes is crucial.
Exactly, you rank much higher in the algorithms, which means that you keep moving up. So when you have all these fake pods or fake engagements that actually probably real users, but they just belong to this kind of club where they give feedback right away. You know, yeah, you're gonna say, look, I put something, and then within the next 10 minutes, like comments, this and that. But it's totally fake.
From what I've seen, I mean, Instagram isn't stupid. They know about this.
They know about that. They're doing nothing. In fact,
no, I've heard they're cracking down.
They do something every now and then they lay back again and let it go. In fact, there's actually Facebook groups that are for these things, which is the most ironic thing. There's Facebook groups that are for engagement pods. And Facebook is like, okay, well, it's a group. We don't know what they're doing, whatever. Yeah, you know what they're doing. They actually, they can't really act too much because they're benefiting from the result of this situation. It's a complete fraud. It's funny because I highly recommend that people read this book by Trey Ratcliffe. I'll put is Trey Ratcliffe? Yeah, Ratcliff. And the book has a long name. It's basically how to fake your way into getting rich on Instagram. And he's a famous photographer, very famous. And he's also an influencer. And you guys can follow him. I'll put his handle too on the show notes. But basically, he actually did a full test, and he himself created a fake account. He was able to grow it to hundreds of thousands of followers as a travel influencer. And he had his real account and the fake account. He actually met with fake influencers. He started kind of asking questions like, they get invited to all these big resorts and they take the pictures and they put the pictures and all the stuff. And he was talking to people that he knew for fact were actually fake influencers. People that were, you can see the growth. And before you just buy 10,000 followers and they're all fake and you see your chart shows, you went from 0 to 10,000 in 1 month. Okay, that's fake. Nobody goes like that. But now the algorithms are actually getting better and they increase like 50 a day. So it's much more difficult to detect if that follower growth is fake or real. However, you can detect it because there's is much more difficult. That's why the agencies not even go that extra step, because when people reply, you see the replies are like standard cookie cutter replies, like emoji face with a thumbs up or things.
I've actually heard that Instagram is their algorithm. If you just have like a bunch of emoji replies, that it doesn't count that as highly as if someone writes like a full sentence. Right. And if you write less than like 3 words, it's not as valuable as a full sentence.
Exactly. That of course, Instagram is doing that, but guess what? The robot answers are doing that too. You can actually program replies and random replies that says include username plus great job, keep it up, or blah blah blah. And then you can tell because you have. Some of them use the same service, and you have 10, 20 replies that are exactly the same from different robots. But those algorithms and those robots are actually trained to always beat Instagram rules. If you see only 2 smiley faces, and now Instagram changes and say, okay, if it's just emojis but no words, we don't consider that valuable. Then okay, we're gonna put 3, 4 words that are very generic. Wonderful, fantastic, you look great, great picture, whatever. So it's something that we really. I'm amazed because I actually know. People, everybody knows. You see people, friends, companies, even institutions, resorts that have all these followers, and you can tell that whoever did it, maybe just because they were trying to grow their account fast or something, they have a bunch of fake followers. But if they sell those things to advertisers, influencers, then they get a reality check, But at the same time, Instagram doesn't make it easy when they say, okay, certain features from Instagram that we want to use are only available for accounts that have at least 10,000 followers. Okay, well, it's very hard to get 10,000 followers organically for any medium business. If you're a major institution, hotel, resort, company, whatever, maybe it's easier. But if you're just a small operation that honestly just posts every day, it's very hard to get 10,000 followers. And by not having 10,000 followers, you're missing out on a bunch of features like swipe ups and things and links from your stories and
without
things like
paying.
that.
Yeah,
without paying, exactly. Yeah, you have a paid advertiser. Yeah, you can do that.
right.
But,
That's what.
well, then
don't confuse it.
What is the solution for the small business? I
Pay.
have to tell the business.
That's what they want you to do. Pay.
Well, yeah, they want you to
Instagram-
pay, but are you going to pay for advertisers or are you going to pay for fake followers? So you
No.
say, okay, now I have 10,000, now I can get that.
They want you to, because having fake followers on a business account is worthless. Why do you need that? You want real followers.
Well, if you just no, it's good just for the fact that you can have. If you have like 10,000 followers and 1,000 are real and 9,000 are fakes or whatever, at least you have the 1,000 that can benefit from you being able to swipe up and link here and all these other features.
That's true. But, like, okay, I'll give you a perfect example of how Instagram manipulates for sure. When you create a business account versus a personal account, the organic reach is much less. That's been proven. They actually say a hack for businesses: don't create a business account, just make a personal account and use your business name, because your engagement and your organic reach will be much higher. That's a truth. Because if you're a business, they say, okay, personal people are probably not going to spend money on ads to promote their account unless it's an extreme case. But a business obviously will spend money on ads.
No, I understand.
So that's
but
what they
it's
do.
To me, when I see contradictions, when I see that the system is provoking or incentivizing fake rules or fake engagement, to me that's the first problem. You know, if you are basically having a system where you require a certain number of why discriminating, saying you need 10,000 followers to be able to do X, Y, Z or whatever. What's the benefit? Yeah, they want you to pay. Okay, well, if I want to pay, it's because I'm trying to reach people that don't already follow me. It's the same thing with Facebook advertising or any other form of advertising. But people that know you don't need to advertise. They already know your brand. Either they like you or they don't. If they like you, they buy from you. They don't. They
Right,
don't buy
but
from
the
you.
same thing happens on Facebook.
But the advertising is to reach new customers.
There's people. I mean, we have clients who have 100,000 plus likes on Facebook, and they don't reach anybody because Facebook wants you to pay to reach them. You know?
Yeah, the organic reach is down to like 1-2%.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. That's why they literally have ads that says pay to promote this to your audience. It's like, what do you mean? They're my audience. Shouldn't I be able to reach them for free?
Well, we understand that they're in the money-making business. I have no problem with that. It's the same thing with Google, and we discussed the paid advertising on Google, how they decrease the the organic reach versus the paid advertising, the real estate on the home pages and all that stuff. I mean, or the first page of results, and that's understandable. But social media platforms, if a person decides to follow you, they would expect to see on their timeline or
that's what I'm saying.
information
That's
from
what
you.
I'm saying. On Facebook, they literally have prompts that say, promote this to reach your audience, saying even though you have 100,000 likes on your Facebook page, none of them are going to see your stuff unless you pay for it. I think that's kind of messed up. What incentive do people have to getting likes on their Facebook page if it isn't worth anything?
So why at the same time they're not policing thoroughly like they should the fact that a lot of companies are paying big money to influencers and other forms of advertising based on followers that Facebook should be able, or Instagram should be able to filter out and say, wait a minute, you're paying for fake shit.
Well,
okay, if I go to a supermarket and I buy something, I expect the supermarket to give me food that is real and not a box that is empty.
Yes, but in that case, you're paying the supermarket. When you pay an influencer, Instagram doesn't get a dime.
Yeah, but I'm using a platform that is approved. That influencer is basically using
But they don't
a
make money from
provided by-
influencers.
They make money from the advertising that influencers use.
No, but if you do an influencer deal, you're paying the influencer.
I don't know how you can defend that because
No, what I'm saying, I'm not saying you're
providing-
wrong. I'm saying that they don't necessarily have a huge incentive because they don't make money from influencers.
Okay, so by that token, I mean by that example, if I'm on a sports team and I have a guy that is faking, whether he's using some performance enhancing drug or something, then that means that the NFL or the NBA or whatever that is basically providing the platform for all these teams to play, they don't make money just because this guy is doing drugs and having a performance enhancing substance and performing better than the rest of the people. And they shouldn't be involved. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense. You know, I mean, if Facebook is providing the platform where those influencers are buying fake members of their platform or engaging in an activity that is is actually banned by the rules, by the terms and conditions.
Right, of course, and it's banned.
And they're not policing
and
to a point
if you
where
get
they
caught,
can actually
they'll ban you.
shut down the accounts.
They do. I mean,
Okay,
they
shut down account because they censor them, as you and I have discussed, for being a sexual orientation or making this comment or whatever. But they're not looking into the fake account situation, saying, okay, you basically acquired 10,000 followers in 2 weeks, and we can now prove that any of these people are real, or you are using illegal ways to engage people. Therefore, we're not going to allow your account. We're not going to allow you to basically steal money from companies pretending that you're an influencer where you have nothing. I mean, seriously. I mean, they have to be accountable. They cannot just look the other way.
Yes.
They have fraud happening on their platform.
I'm not disagreeing with you. What I'm saying is that their incentives are misaligned because they want you to buy their ads, not pay the influencers. Because when you buy their ads, they verify that you're getting real impressions. Okay, so when you get impressions on Instagram through an Instagram ad, those are real people. If you buy through influencers, they don't get a dime of that. So they say, okay, do it at your own risk. That's why I think they haven't gone after it as much as they probably should have. That's what I think. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying that's why.
I understand that point. But you're telling me that just because they want to sell you something, they're not looking at other members that are actually acting in a fraudulent way within their platform.
They do.
They're basically saying you're throwing your money away with these people because they're worthless.
Right, and they say give us your money instead.
Yes, but they should still clean up their house. I mean,
I'm not disagreeing. Okay. I'm just stating the case, basically.
All right. Well, I mean, there is a big problem, and it's not being solved. There's tons of articles, and you just Google or search for fake influencers on Instagram specifically. There's tons of articles, but I highly recommend the book from Trey Ratcliffe, and I have no interest in or no parts of commission or nothing on the book. I don't even know the guy. I read the book. It's very interesting. He states very, very interesting facts, and it's an eye-opener. I mean, it really is. And I've seen specific examples of agencies that promote all these influencers, and then sometimes you even look at them, and you're like, how could you possibly promote this person? I mean, without even doing any research, I can use any of the available tools and see that this guy is just a fake.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty easy to tell if they're not smart about it. You can tell someone's fake. But the problem is more what you're saying when they use very advanced tactics that make it look
But
very
this is
real.
major advertisers. I'm not talking about the small store that is trying to advertise the corner laundry. This is major advertisers that are thinking that they're using influencers for their products and lifestyle and travel and this and that, and they are actually not. But because they go by the numbers, maybe that's what they want. They just want to prove to their bosses that, hey, we got 10,000 impressions and 20,000 engagements and this or that. The campaign was a success. In the meantime, they sold nothing. And that's when the reality comes, All right, so let's...
Anyways, if you want to get 10,000 fake followers in 3 days, just email me at...
email followers, fakewhatever.com. All right, no, we don't do that. One final topic, I think... very briefly, Slack. What's happening?
You got to cut them some slack here.
Can use some slack. But there's a company that we kind of intrigued about. We don't use it at the office. We don't use it at MGR. But David actually likes it. I don't think it's a good fit for us at this time.
I'm bullish on it.
But in the investment side? Or
Yeah. I mean, I'm not an investor or anything.
Oh, let's explain first what they do briefly.
I mean, I think most people know what Slack is. It's just basically it's a workplace chat app that kind of mixes different chat, like IRC from back in the day and other chat apps with email for internal workplace communication. It's just a better system for internal workplace communication.
It's kind of filters how you have a typical office where you communicate internally with your coworkers or externally with clients and vendors and so forth. It kind of separates the internal communication from the external communication, cleaning up the clutter a little bit so you have a little bit of two platforms, so to speak.
But the problem is that, as always happens, like we were talking about with Instagram and Facebook copying TikTok, Microsoft has basically came with Microsoft Teams. I mean, this isn't new. This happened probably 2 years ago, I think now. And they kind of copied Slack. From I don't use Microsoft Teams, so I don't know, but it's not as good from what I've seen, it's good, but it's not as good as Slack. But the key thing is it comes with Microsoft Office, which is massively distributed. So basically now, if you have Microsoft Office, you have Teams, and you have to pay extra for it. Slack, obviously, you have to pay extra for it. It's not part of any other system, any bundle. So that's a massive advantage. So even if Microsoft Teams isn't necessarily quite as good, has all the features that Slack has.
They have some features that are actually better than Slack. One of the things that Slack is lacking is the organization or sorting the communication part. Like everything is kind of in a big bag, and is when you're looking for some kind of information, it's a little difficult to sift through all the information. And with Microsoft, you can do that. You can actually organize your
Slack
folders.
has that actually is a competitive advantage is that they have a lot of third-party apps that they basically allow anybody to go and create a third-party app for Slack. And they have a lot of really cool third-party apps that are basically smaller companies that are trying to benefit from Slack and saying, hey, add this app in and we'll do whatever feature. So I guarantee you there is a third-party Slack app that does exactly what you just asked for. So that's the benefit that Slack has. Any feature that you need, there's probably a third-party app that you can just go and add to your Slack, and you'll have it. I just think that Slack, the reason I'm kind of bullish on it is just because, one, I think Stuart Butterfield, the founder and CEO, is a phenomenal operator. He founded Flickr. Now he founded Slack. It's very hard to have not one but two major companies like that. And I just think that feature-wise, as we discussed, really, if Microsoft comes with some really key feature, Slack can just copy it. It's not like a big deal. Just like Microsoft has copied all of Slack's features. But I think Slack has definitely a better brand awareness than Microsoft Teams does. But Microsoft Teams has the distribution. So it's interesting. And I'm not saying that Microsoft Teams won't be successful on its own. But I think that you can have multiple companies succeed. And I think that Slack will continue to succeed and grow. And I think Slack has the potential to grow and expand into more areas besides just chat, which I think we will see them do.
Do you think that Slack could be potentially be acquired or merged with a bigger whale out there?
Yeah, maybe.
So I think
they already merged with what's it called? HipChat, which was one of their biggest competitors, and they merged with them. So I think that what I think could be, and this is pure speculation, this is not, I have no idea, but Zoom just went public at a similar time to Slack. I think a killer move would be if Zoom and Slack merged, because then you would have basically all business communication in one application. I think that there's big potential for that. Now, I have no idea if that happens. Maybe they don't necessarily need to merge the companies. They could create some type of integration with each other that's seamless. But I think Zoom has the best video conferencing and Slack has the best chat, intra-company chat. And I think that those two companies could merge. Or Slack maybe could go into other areas of business communication that's just not chat. So that's why I think they have a lot of potential. I think that they're being underestimated in the public markets right now. I think that them dropping 15% or whatever they did last week is ridiculous.
Well, they did just because of that, because of the numbers were good for the past, but the projections for the future were not that great, especially with investors.
And they make a ton of
money.
Kind of
overreacting a little bit as far as the Microsoft competition and all that stuff. So
the thing is, they have huge margins though. They're not profitable right now because they're trying to grow. But if they just wanted to cash in on those margins, most of the software
companies,
they have huge margins.
They do. They do. That's why I think when the company is healthy, grows, has a good, solid intellectual property, I think they are more of a target for a possible merger, acquisition, or things like that. But right now, there's no rumors or anything. That was just my own question, speculation. So we'll just let it go. And with that, we'll wrap this up for today. Any other comments, David, from you?
No, I think I talked probably plenty for the day.
All right, yeah, that's plenty. We'll be posting all the show notes at the same time we edit this, which will be probably later this afternoon. It should be up by Friday morning or Friday afternoon. And until then, everybody have a great week and weekend. Thank you. Bye-bye.